The Departmental Budget Vote Special Focus Discussion is proudly brought to you by Gauteng Provincial Legislature. Your view, our vision.
Good evening, Gauteng. Yet again, you're listening to the voice of the Gauteng Legislature, where the laws of the province are made. And as you know, we've had interactions with the Gauteng Provincial Legislature before, and the Gauteng Provincial Legislature has made a commitment to keep you on board by giving you information, by inviting you to give information. And those of you that are panicking about, hey, is that my radio station that I'm listening to because I don't know that voice? Don't panic. This is the voice of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature broadcasting live from the Gauteng Legislature on the following radio stations: Kofifi FM, EKFM, Alex FM, Cosmo FM, Moretile FM, which is in Hammanskraal, East Wave FM, Kasi FM, Mums FM, and Likwai FM. So yes, you are listening to your radio station, but you are listening to the voice of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, and this week you are going to be listening to the chairpersons of the standing committees, and this evening we're going to kick off the show with none other than the chairperson for Roads and Transport, the Honourable Jacob Kawe. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Greetings to the Gauteng people and to the team here.
Well, as you've heard, we are broadcasting live on 9 radio stations in Gauteng, which means we're probably reaching all 12 million people of Gauteng today. Now, when we had our interactions 2 months ago with the Gauteng Provincial Legislature and all the different chairpersons, we spoke about what it is that the Gauteng Provincial Legislature does, which is pass laws,
Yes.
and what the chairs of the standing committees do. Now, for those who missed out on that wonderful opportunity at that time, Mr. Jacob Gawe, please can you just, in 5 minutes, re-inform the listeners of Gauteng what it is that standing committees in the Gauteng Provincial Legislature do?
No, thank you very much. Kidumedise Kohaye. What we're doing, firstly, we must explain that when we vote for national elections, people use 2 ballot papers. One ballot paper is for national, which constitute the national parliament. The second ballot paper is for province, which constitute the legislature. In other provinces, they call the provincial parliament. It's one and the same thing. So that's the first step. When we get elected and we come here, we're coming here to represent the people of Gauteng, irrespective of our political parties, but of course with the mandate of the ruling party. Here we are coming to give expression to the Constitution. The Constitution gives South Africans 2 basic pass budgets, and we must monitor as to what do they do with the public purse. So in essence, this is what constitutes the core work that we're doing as a legislature.
Which is what we are going to be doing this evening.
Yes.
Now, first of all, the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, to my knowledge, is the only legislature or provincial parliament, as they prefer to call themselves in other areas, that actually engages with its citizens. And today, we are going to be doing just that. And today, we're going to be talking about the Department of Roads and Transport's budget.
Yes.
That what happens with the budget comes to the legislature, you interrogate it, and then you raise certain things that you feel should be strengthened or should be corrected or should be enhanced or should be gotten rid of. And today unfortunately, we don't have much time, but we are going to be talking about that.
Okay.
Now, in your portfolio, it's quite an extensive portfolio. You've got the Gautrain, you've got transport regulation, you've got transport operation, you've got G Fleet, you've got transport infrastructure. Let's start with your budget, not your budget, the department's budget that gets presented, I'll say, to you,
Yes.
because you are the chairperson. When you receive this budget, what do you do with it?
First
What
thing-
did you do with it?
Okay. Look, the first thing is to look at the baseline. How much did the department get in the previous year? Assess the work done, and we use the annual report to do so. But equally, we use the AG's report,
That will be the Auditor General.
the Auditor General, to assess the performance, both financial performance of the department and general performance in terms of the project that they've set in the APPs.
So how much was the Department of Roads and Transport allocated by yourself this year?
This financial year,
Yes.
2017-2018,
Yes.
the department got from the provincial fiscals, it got 4 billion. As a grant from national, it got 2 billion. So as we speak, we're talking of we're talking amount of 6 billion that has to be spent between what we call April
This year?
2017 until March 2018.
Now, has this budget gone up?
No, it has declined.
Why has it declined?
3 reasons. There is a decline in the Gautrain because there are no new projects they're going to do. So they're going just to do maintenance of the programs.
Wasn't there talk of the Gautrain infrastructure being expanded?
We're doing a study on expansion. So it's not actual physical work that is going to be done.
Okay.
It's a research and it's engagement with various stakeholders. So that reduced the budget a bit. The second cut is on the grants from national, not necessarily from the province, on bus subsidies. Something that we as a committee are going to raise with the department, but we've also invited the National Treasury to have a discussion with them on that situation.
When they reduce your budget, do they tell you why?
Of course.
And what reason did they give on the buses?
The budget reduction or increase is known during the previous year budget review process.
Okay.
So they start planning at that time. So by the time we passed the budget as the legislature, there would have been discussions in the process that shows the indication of whether you are able to spend or not able to spend. The reason given by national on buses is that the initial amount was supposed to cover Western areas. So the department had requested money to extend bus services in Western, which it did not do. And therefore, the conditional grants are on a basis whether you stick to what is funded for. So on a basis that the department could not do that extension of bus services in Western, that amount has actually been taken back by national.
Now, there's a number of issues that your committee has raised around the bus services
Yes.
and the contracts thereof. Do you want to share your issues that you've raised with the department, with the listeners with the citizens of Gauteng?
We actually want to invite the communities in Gauteng to attend the bus inquiry.
When will this be?
We will still have to determine that. We have already started. So we had 2 days session on the 14th and 15th of June. And we gave an opportunity for community leadership. The leadership of commuters of PADCO and the leadership of the Northwest Star in Hammanskraal and Soshanguve areas. We will have another session for commuters of Autopex in Mamelodi and Vredendal. And then we'll give opportunity to bus companies to make their presentations. Once we've done that, we'll then have engagement with National Treasury, the Provincial Treasury, and the Department of Roads and Transport in the province. We know the nature of the problem. We have done oversight visits. We have been in Soshanguve.
We being the standing committee.
We being the committee. We being the representatives of the people. We being the whole team that works as what you call a portfolio committee of the Gauteng Legislature. In this, we would have included the department, would have included the commuter organizations. So when we're doing these oversight visits, we brought on everybody to actually go and see what is happening. And I can tell you, we have witnessed terrible conditions of buses. There's something, it looks like a joke, but it's sad. Is that when we entered into one bus, Parco bus, in Soshanguve, there's a road there, it's a steepy road. And most passengers said to me, Chairperson, you'll see, we may not go through the steep. And every time when we just go through the steep, we celebrate. And we thought it's a joke.
No, I'm
but
laughing
it's a terrible
because
story.
it's terrible. So you're going to get to work?
Yes. So there are problems. But as we always say as a committee, we must give everybody involved an opportunity to speak. So what I'm presenting to you is still the views of commuters. It's still the views of those who use
But
the
you
transport.
experienced this particular
We
thing
did.
as
We did
well
experience,
as
yes.
your portfolio committee. Now, because we limited in time, we're not going to go into the bus
Yes,
issue
yes.
in detail. But to all the citizens of Gauteng that are listening there, that are bus commuters, you know the Gauteng Portfolio Committee led by Jacob Gawe is going around the province listening to you. So when you hear that they are coming, please do attend, because it's your government and it's your legislature. Then we're going to talk about transport regulation. This one is one that some of us don't like very much, because it's about paying. And the government derives a lot of money out of it, something in the region of 3.4 billion a year. Well, Gauteng in particular.
Yes.
Now, first of all, it's the biggest revenue source for the province. But where does this money come from? Where does it go to?
It comes from the people of Gauteng. It comes from the tax that we pay. And then it's redirected back to have these offices established, to have people performing the duties, but also to access your disc, what we call a disc.
Your third-party disc.
Yeah, it's a better known language, disc. It's
The first thing the traffic cops look at when they stop you.
they say a disc. So that's where it goes.
And for your licenses as well?
Including the licenses.
Okay.
And then the amount goes, and the bigger portion of it goes to national for a contract between the National Transport Department and one big company, a monopoly in that sector called Tasima. And I'm sure people of Gauteng...
there's been some fighting, some legal dispute going on over that.
So the people of Gauteng should know.
We must have a chat on a chat show about that
Sure.
that dispute.
Yeah.
That's something for the future.
Yeah.
But it's a very important one. But the other thing now, this money, that because there's money coming in, unfortunately, there's always the dark side of corruption and fraud. As the committee, what recommendations are you putting to the department, or enforcement are you encouraging the department to undertake to prevent this? Because this is money paid by the citizens, for the citizens, but unfortunately it's finding its way into individuals' pockets.
Let me just go back to, then when we have received it, what do we do? Portion of it, as I said, it's reinvested back to the function. Portion of it goes to national for it to give a portion to the road accident fund.
Oh,
The portion of it goes back to provincial treasury.
okay.
So other portfolios.
Is there a formula?
Yes, there
Okay.
is formula.
okay.
Perhaps Chairperson Kumalo may be better placed to go to details to formula, or I can have another session. But the point I want to make is people should understand that that money is then used to invest other programs. So you have departments where they don't have revenue collection. So they will be dependent from departments that have revenue collection.
Like yours, you the rich people.
Like we. So you find that the social development people, the education people, community safety. Community safety does have some bit small of revenue, but they'll talk about it when they come. But the point I'm trying to make
Is that it's reinvested.
people must understand that as you pay a disc, you're not just paying a disc to be roadworthy. You are also funding Gauteng government to actually perform its functions.
To be Gauteng.
To be Gauteng.
The Gauteng that you want to be proud
Now the
of.
point about corruption, look, in this area, there's been little space except on the drivers, what we call learner driving centers. There's also a bit of a little space on the issuance of permits. But on the issuance of disc, the system is very tight. So people of Gauteng must rest assured.
Yeah, I think it's on the fines where the problems are.
The fines, yeah.
Is there anything that can be done about that?
Look, people get arrested. I can speak with no fear now, no contradiction, that 5 officials have been found involved in the scam on the fines, right? But remember, when you pay a fine, it's 2 institutions. In fact, it's supposed to be 3, because there's a ticket you either get from National Traffic, you get from Gauteng Traffic, and then you get from the local municipality. Depending on the road you drive at. Right?
Okay.
But everybody is collecting revenue.
Okay.
That's the main story, that everybody is collecting revenue. But with the Gauteng one, the system is a bit tight.
Okay. Now, we can't talk about roads and transport without talking about the taxi industry. Now, there's, the taxi industry has these flare-ups that happen every now and then. And I know you've been working very hard in the taxi industry. And we've come across something called the commuter. I don't know if the commuter-based subsidy. What is this? And you've also spoken about the formalization of the taxi industry. What is that?
The commuter subsidy theory, it's what we are advancing post the engagement with the Treasury on bus subsidies. We've picked up a weakness in the sense that at times they are not necessarily subsidizing a passenger, but they are subsidizing a route. What do I mean by that? They are subsidizing a bus from Naledi to Johannesburg. Irrespective of how many commuters use the bus, that amount is there. And then the bus company is allowed to add on the ticket fare to make their money, right? So it's 2 ways. What we're proposing, which is a proposal, so it's not law yet. As
Is this the committee that's...
Yes, on behalf of the people of Gauteng.
Okay.
One, we are demanding that we should have a subsidy system that subsidize a trip, firstly. Now, in the train and bus industry, you buy a ticket, whether you call it monthly, whether it's weekly. But if you didn't use it on Monday and Tuesday or Wednesday,
You lose that.
you lose that, right? But we want to introduce the Gautrain system of a ticket, where it's a fare. It's not the day.
Ah, okay.
Now, how should government subsidize a fare? Is that it must calculate number of people who are using that particular mode of transport, and it must make a formula of funding that is determined by the number of people, not the routes. So that's the change. But it's something that we're advocating for, and it's something that I hope individually that it's an ambition that come 2019 and we are asked, what did you do for the people of Gauteng? The ambition is that we would have solved the ticket system in the public transport.
And the regularization of the taxi sector?
Look, it's be difficult to subsidize the taxi association or taxi industry in the current form, right? And one of the difficulties, and I know at times I'm not understood well by the taxi industry on this point, taxis are not public transport.
No, they're private things.
Privately owned, accessible to public, right? So a taxi owner can choose today not to avail the taxi and go to Lady Smith for a funeral, right?
Because it's a personal possession.
It's a personal thing. Some taxi guys this Saturday chose to take people to Durban to a soccer match, right? Now, if you subsidize them on the route basis, it means that taxi, you cannot just
It
choose.
can't just go to Durban.
You can't just go to Durban. 2, you can't be on any other route. 3, you can't have no license, roadworthy. So there are
You can't
more
take your
things.
girlfriend to work in that taxi then, because it's not subsidized.
It's not subsidized. People who take their girlfriends and their wives, they use their private cars. Because there is your space. You decide when to turn left and turn right.
Yeah, it is a
But
difficult
a
one.
subsidized trip, it's like metro rail. It's a subsidized trip. If the train must leave Naledi at 6 and go to Johannesburg, it happens daily. Irrespective whether there's somebody who's going to be inside that train. But the taxi industry, they park at a taxi rank, they wait for the taxi to be full. So they're not just driving around and taking people. So that's the difference. So what we're saying to the industry, professionalize, come more organized. Then let's talk subsidy, which I personally and the party I belong to supports the subsidy to professionalized taxi industry.
You know, we spoke about the Gautrain. I want to go back to the Gautrain, and this time mixing the Gautrain with the BRT, the rapid transport system. I saw the committee, again, your portfolio committee, that you have raised this thing of using one card for the Gautrain and the BRT. Can you just quickly tell us a little bit about that?
In the transport master plan of the province, about one single ticket system. As a committee, we have engaged with the department and we have asked them to pilot that. We're not on the plans. And giving them time to go to review sessions and come back to us with their plans. So we're waiting for them to come. All what we said is that in this financial year, because they have the budget to do so, so the mandate is the financial year for now.
Okay. Now, we in the closing minutes, they've been showing me fingers.
Oh,
Our conversation, we get lost in our conversation.
Sure.
The other thing, before we say goodbye from roads and transport, the G fleet, that's the government cars that we see in some of the strangest places. Now, as the oversight person, the person that cracks the whip on the department, because as a taxpayer, I'm offended when I see the G cars in some strange places. And I'm often frustrated and I don't know what to do.
for people who have a solution on tracking, I know that the department has advertised a tender to do so. So I invite those who have the knowledge, the technology, the ideas to consider that application. All what we said is that the communities must report. So the hotline for reporting is very weak. Because I myself wanted to report. I saw a G car at the Royal Hotel in Durban. And I wanted to phone and ask has hired this car. And it was difficult to get through. Now, if it was difficult for the chair, what more about ordinary?
Just ordinary me.
But we want our people to report. G-car cannot be in a wedding. G-car cannot be in the bash. G-car cannot be in a big known tavern. G-car, if it's at stadium, it must be because there's a government program linked to what is happening there. Outside that, no.
Okay, our time is run out now,
yes,
and
thank you.
The Honourable Jacob Gawe, I'm calling you Jay, I don't know why, the Portfolio Committee Chair for Roads and Transport, we thank you for a very enlightening session, and if you can give your last message to the citizens, all 12 million Gautengese that are listening to you.
To the people of Gauteng, rest assured that the Gauteng Legislature is at work. We will monitor the utilization of your money. Use us. Don't go on street, don't burn trains, don't burn buses. Just come to the legislature and demand to see the committee. We are here to serve you, nothing else. Thank you very much.
On that note, we'll take a break and we'll be coming back with the chair for, it's a very long name, it's a paragraph. We'll get to it when we get back. And please, I forgot to announce earlier that we are streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook. On YouTube, it's Kofifi TV, and on Facebook, it's at Kofifi In Touch. And we go to a break. Good evening, Gauteng. You're back with the voice of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, reporting live from the Gauteng Provincial Legislature on the corner of Market and President Streets. And this is the voice of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature. As I promised, we are going to be interviewing the chair of the Portfolio Committee for Economic Development, Agriculture, Environment, and rural development. I told you it was a paragraph. It's a mouthful. We are recording live on Kofifi FM, EKFM, Alex FM, Cosmo FM, Moretile FM, which is Hammanskraal, Eastwave FM, Kasi FM, Mums FM, Likwa FM. And we are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube on Kofifi TV. Mr. Errol Margaman, the Honorable Mr. Errol Margaman, the Chair of the Portfolio Committee, please greet the people of Gauteng.
Good evening, people of Gauteng. It is a pleasure to be engaging with you tonight, and I hope it will be a beneficial interview that we'll have here.
It's not an interview, it's a conversation.
A conversation,
yes. You are talking with the people that you represent.
Yes, of course.
Because people of Gauteng, these are our representatives. And these are the people you come to when you have problems. Burning a tire in the street, looting a shop is not going to solve the problem. In fact, it's going to worsen the problem because, as you know, we are living in difficult times right now. Mr. Margaman, talking about living in difficult times. Our economy, we're right now in a situation where we've got 17 point something million people on social welfare and only 15 point something million in formal employment, which for me means that your portfolio committee is sitting with a very, very big headache.
Yes, indeed, it is a headache because it's the economic slump is not just here in South Africa or in Gauteng. It is a global challenge that we have. But as a committee, we do get affected by what happens in the globe because once the global appetite shrinks, our exports become fewer to export. So we are losing and shedding jobs, especially in your mining sectors and other exporting sectors.
Now, I want to start with agriculture.
Okay.
Because for some reason, agriculture's become the Cinderella, so to speak, of economics in Gauteng. In other provinces, it's there. But we do forget that we do have some agricultural activity in Gauteng, and I want us to talk about that. I see the budget for it is
800 and something.
900. It's about 900. It's just over 900 million, which isn't bad considering the fact that we're not really an agricultural province. What percent of our land is actually agricultural?
We've got a very small availability of land in the province. Because as well it's expensive because this is Gauteng. It is dolomitic. And there's a high demand for land, so obviously the prices
what
go up.
do we mean the land is dolomitic?
That you can't farm on it. It's more clayish, and you can't even really utilize
You can't build
it.
on
You
it
can't do
either.
anything with it. So that in itself is a challenge. And once there's a shortage of something, there's a demand, supply and demand principle that the prices go up. But where we have, we do try and make interventions. Our interventions would be agri-parks. If you go to Randfontein, we've got an agri-park that is functioning well. We want to make it a model.
What's an agri-park?
It is an area where a group of people, cooperatives, and small emerging farmers come in and use the agri-park to do some farming and also linked to markets.
Is it one piece of land?
Yes, it is one piece of land.
And then the people don't own it?
No, they don't own it. It's
how do you qualify to go and farm there?
At this point in time, what we do, we use people who are actually in the business, and then we give them an opportunity to go through there because there is technology there. We support them with seeds, we support them with implements generally, and we link them to markets. Once they are fully established, we bring a new group of people in. At this point in time,
sorry, I'm going to interrupt you there.
Okay.
When you say once they are established, you bring a new group of people in. Where do they go to then?
Obviously, they go to farms if there are farms
okay.
available.
Oh, so basically that's an incubator where you're teaching them.
Of some kind, yes.
Okay.
We've even got the high technology stuff that we've brought in where we're vertical planting and no longer using masses of land. Technology, if you look at our report, it's one of the issues that we're saying.
Yeah, hydroponic.
That the department should invest more on research and development and IT.
But there's quite a few things that you've pointed out to the department because Gauteng, people of Gauteng, one of the previous chairperson explained to us, and we don't want to explain it again, that the portfolio committees are actually the bosses of the MECs and the departments. So they are the ones that look at their programs and then say to them, but you could do this better, you could do that better, why aren't you doing this, why aren't you doing that? And one of the things, or one of the many things you've identified is that you have had, there's this the land issue where farms are not productive. That's one issue. And I'd like you to explain to us why and how this can be resolved. The other one you spoke about, where you are basically censuring the department, is the farmers' lack of access to markets, which I didn't quite understand because Gauteng has the biggest consumer base in the country.
Yes, that's what we call an off-take agreement. Once you get into the program as an emerging farmer, a cooperative or an SMME, we expect other sister departments as well to sign agreements with you so that we can try and break the monopoly capital type of approach. It's something that we are going to monitor very tightly during the course of this new financial year.
But you also spoke about the issue of sustainability.
Yes.
Now, why are some of these enterprises of, in particular, what we call emerging farmers, not sustainable?
You see, one of the challenges that we have is that agriculture was treated like an NGO before.
That's why I'm calling it the Cinderella.
Yes, but now it is brought into economic development because we wanted to contribute towards job creation. We wanted to contribute towards the GDP of the province and of the country as a whole. And what has happened, there's also an over-reliance on government. And that is a challenge in itself, that people could link them to markets, et cetera, but they will come back cap in hand and say, government, we need this. So we're trying to tighten some of these agreements that we've made to make sure that, as I said, there should be a movement from people not staying in a state of relying on government, but should be able to move into a state of self-reliance. We have agreements with international other countries internationally, both African and overseas, and people should be challenged there. But once you get into business, business is a cutthroat. It's not an NGO. It's a cutthroat situation, and once you get chowed by others to form other monopolies, it becomes a problem.
But it's not monopolies, it's just competition. But the thing is, this is a conversation that needs to happen about South Africans depending too much on government. The kind of support that the department gives. As you said, there's technology, there's seeds, but there's something else, and there's money, and there's implements, and there's financial and land access. So already, maybe, do you think maybe it's because government gives too much?
I would say so, and I would not say so because of the history that we come from. And as I said, that's not an NGO.
Yes.
And it does not mean that if you're a worker on a farm, you can manage it properly.
No.
But hindsight teaches you that you've got to look at things differently, and your approach should be more professional, because 3 years down the line, you don't want the same people still knocking on government's door. There must be growth. But we are happy as well if you go to the Randfontein Agri-Park. There are young people, even disabled people, who are making a success out of the opportunity given to them.
I'm very encouraged to hear that there's young people going into farming, because it's young people tend to not see it as being cool, and yet I think it's actually very creative. I think farming's very creative.
It is.
The whole thing of seeing something emerge, whether it's the animal or whether it's the plant, But there's something else that your committee identified for the MEC's attention. The issue of the appointment of service providers, that they were being provided late, and that the contracts were weak, so the service being given to these emerging enterprises wasn't as it should be. How are you going to crack the whip on this one?
We have asked them to bring us a plan. I think it does say give us a comprehensive plan as to what you are going to do. Maybe work with universities or your old farmers who are there, because as well is the attitude is that people, I believe our service providers, some of them, they go onto the farms wearing your labeled clothes and not wearing your boots and all that. That already shows you there is something wrong. And also, as we've
should they be service providers?
Aged people want to be farmers. Because if I take my pension, one of the things that I would say to myself is, let me get a farm somewhere where I come from and buy and become a farmer. And that becomes a problem.
Why?
Because I don't have the experience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, then I get to government, I put all my pension money in there. That is what is currently happening. People have got farms, then
Okay.
it becomes a real big problem.
It might actually be the political noise that's being made out there. This is just a
Yeah.
hypothetical thing that it makes it seem like it's simple to be a farmer.
Yeah, it does.
And yet we know it's a hard slog.
And a lot of farms that are successful are family based. If you look at it, the
It's
wife,
generations.
generational thing. The children are all into it. But if you go there with my urban way of doing things, I would not survive there.
Now, because you've got such a big portfolio and we don't have enough time, we've got to move on to the other Cinderella, environment. Now, I like to say I'm a tree hugger. I'm one of those people who gets very saddened when I come into the city and I see it's dirty, when I see vegetation being destroyed, when I see wetlands being destroyed. Like when I saw Sekabosrand Nature Reserve burned down. Now, can you tell us, as the portfolio committee, you've identified, in fact, the nature reserves and the biodiversity issue?
Yes, the nature reserves are a challenge, but the infrastructure is old infrastructure. I think that is why your Protea Hotel withdrew. It needs a lot of money to fix or to get it into acceptable level. So what we are saying to the department, they must bring us a plan as well to see how are they engaging the private sector.
I was about to go there.
And do a joint venture so that we can turn them around. I spend a weekend, not a weekend, a day at the what do you call, Cradle of Humankind.
Oh,
which
yeah,
is also,
Dino King.
Yes, it's a beautiful place, but we have to support them, and they should all be to the standard of the Cradle of Humankind. It is a challenge. The money that we budgeted for is not that much.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that because now we're going to jump to economic affairs, although we didn't talk about biodiversity.
The maintenance is very superficial. That no, let's just paint and close up. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
But as the portfolio committee, are you pushing for public-private partnerships? Because the people of Gauteng enjoy the outdoors.
Yes.
And I believe how many nature reserves does the Gauteng provincial government own? Do you know? I think it's about 5 or 6.
5 or 6, yeah. I agree. There's the one in the Hammanskraal area as well.
There's Sekabosrand, there's Heidelberg, there's Rudderplaat.
Yes.
There's quite a lot.
We would love to have people coming in who have ideas as to how we can improve them and make public-private partnerships, because that is where we should go.
So
government is not about
running nature reserves.
Yes,
but
other issues.
And there's money to be made.
Exactly.
So business people out there,
And
please.
jobs to be created.
There's jobs to be
Yes,
created because there is money to be
Yes,
made. Business people out there, if you have a bent towards nature reserves, please. Errol Margaman, the chair of the portfolio committee for economic affairs, agriculture, environment. I've left out one, I know.
Rural development.
Rural development.
Yes, rural development.
But now let's biodiversity. I know we're a tiny little province that's highly urbanized, but how important is it to maintain the little biodiversity that we have?
Hence, we had a 2-day breakaway with the department, and one of the issues that we discussed is that we should ensure and conserve and promote our biodiversity space, because that is sustainable. It will assist us and assist our future generations to ensure that there's sustainability. But it is something that we are looking at. We are looking at the state of the environment generally, both air and on the ground. We're also considering if there is no change, because as human beings, we look at dumping or your black plastic bag. You just put it there and you wish
you forget
when you
about
come back, it is gone. But there is more to that. Hence, we need to have awareness campaigns. People should work with us, ensure that our area is clean, because I believe that our air is very polluted as well.
It is. It is. Apparently, the glorious sunsets that we have
Is that
are
one.
because of the pollution.
So we might call in a committee inquiry and summon, because once you have a committee inquiry, you're given powers even as the
Oh.
judge, yes,
Uh-huh.
to summon those companies that
That are polluting.
yes, and the municipalities that are not doing anything because they're not taking it seriously.
Ah.
So it becomes a problem. They take junior staff to monitor the equipment that is there. There's data that is projected, but nobody can
Does
interpret
anything
it,
about
and
it.
nobody can interpret because of the staff that we have. But we are forcing through the department, the municipalities to come to the party.
Now, when we started our conversation, we spoke about the anomaly where the minority are supporting the majority, with the more people being on social welfare than being employed. And now clearly we're moving towards economic affairs. And as the most densely populated province in the country, with the highest number of people at 12.7, and I suspect it's probably more. I think we're around 15 million, not 12.7 million. And the economy shrinking, and the natural response from people in other provinces is to further come into what they see as the center of the economy. And yet, when I looked at the economic affairs budget, I was actually surprised that it was only 1.4 billion.
Yeah, it is not enough, but it is the department's responsibility to ensure that GPG-wide jobs are created by all departments and also engaging the private sector to assist. We agreed, and a lot of work is done through our agencies. We've got about 4 agencies, and a lot of job creation it should be done at that level.
Now, the big call from people generally is about jobs.
Yes.
So we need growth, economic growth.
Yes.
And Gauteng is supposed to be the engine. I know the MEC recently, it was this week or last week, was talking about the difficulties that of creating, of growing the economy. As the portfolio committee, what suggestions are you putting forward?
Hence, we are saying the importance of your small emerging entrepreneurs, your cooperatives, where we can bring them into the supply chain, because we've got to change the structure of our economy and bring in new people to create more jobs. It's your SMMEs and your cooperatives that are very important. We have GTA. We feel, if you look at our report, that the tourism sector can produce a lot of jobs. But we should also look at the skills that we are providing. We might be focusing on tourism, but our FETs and our universities are producing something else, and that is a problem. So skills, they do go with skills development. They do go with creating job opportunities.
I'm so glad you've gone there. Is our education system equipped for the creation of these new entrepreneurs that we need? Is our as the Department of Economic Affairs, are you meeting with the business fraternity to ask them, what does the economy need in terms of skills?
Yes, we do have interactions with them. Hence, we say we are representatives of the people. We don't have the monopoly of knowledge. I would like as much input and interaction with the private sector, especially, to educate us on some of the issues that we think we should do. Because without them, we cannot move. Because the youth, you have to find employment for the youth, or else you're just going to have instability in the country.
And it's got to be sustainable jobs.
Sustainable jobs.
Yeah.
But we should also, I went to Thailand. The economy of Thailand has 95% is employed people are employed by cooperatives. I was telling somebody, I was growing up in a township in Alex. There was Balos. The concept or the idea of getting a job in a company like Balos was that I would have medical aid, I would have all
Pension
these things.
fund, yes.
But we are scared to move onto our own. And we're encouraging people of Gauteng to to take these opportunities. There are lots of opportunities. You have,
As the Gauteng, as the chair of the
Yes.
Portfolio Committee for Economic Affairs, you are talking about encouraging people to become entrepreneurs,
Yes.
basically take that
Yes.
that leap of faith. As what is GPG doing to enable people to become entrepreneurs?
we have your GEP, which is your Gauteng Economic Propeller, which funds, supports SMMEs and cooperatives, both financially and non-financially. If you need a loan of up to 6 million and you have a business plan, and obviously the situation that we are in is that it will prioritize your manufacturing industry. There are people who are coming up with good proposals, and if they are sustainable, we do ensure that they get funded. Then you have your DTI, your IDT, and everybody else.
But I want to focus on Gauteng
Okay.
Enterprise Propeller because it's a bite size.
Yes,
And the DTIs tell you about hundreds of millions.
Yes,
Now,
yes.
I don't know how to write a business plan,
Yes.
but I do believe I have a business plan in my
your
head
head, yeah,
that I can
concept.
that I can
Yes,
explain to you.
yes.
Can I go to the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller and they do the business plan for
They
me?
are supposed to have what we call a hand-holding process, where they take your concept and put it on paper and assist you to put a business plan together. They are supposed to do that. But if they do not do that and they dismiss you, you are free to come to the Gauteng Legislature, look for us in the economic development. We will ensure that you get the service that you need.
Let me reiterate, citizens of Gauteng. The Gauteng Provincial Legislature is where the laws of the province are made, and the chairs of the portfolio committees and their committees are the bosses of the MECs and in the entire civil service. So if there's a civil servant that thinks they're a mandarin and they own that department, they don't. Come to the Gauteng Legislature and report them.
Yes.
Take their name, take their surname, write your complaint. If you cannot write, it's fine. Come to the portfolio committee, they'll write it and they will deal with it. Trust me, I've sent people here. And there has been action. And we let's continue. We were talking about matching skills with what the economy needs. And is there engagement with universities as well, and the FETs in particular, in this regard?
As far as I know, yes, but it's an issue that I think as a portfolio committee, we should follow up and find out facts as to is it being done. Because we are not teaching any entrepreneurial skills in our schools. And being an entrepreneur, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of passion. And I think we should encourage people, but we will take that up as a committee.
Do you think that there's a problem with us, that we think money comes easily, that business success is easy? Do you think we have that mindset?
I think that's why, for me, an entrepreneur, to be produced academically, I have a bit of a problem. That's my own personal view. I was an entrepreneur.
You believe it's hard graft?
It's hard graft. You cannot be an entrepreneur if you don't sacrifice. An entrepreneur is the person who would sometimes not get paid, whilst his staff has to get paid, whilst you have to buy stock. You must be the first there. You must be the last to leave. At times when your staff is not there, you've got to be able to take off your jacket and roll up your sleeves and slave it out. And that's why I say it is always better, even for GEP, when they want to fund a person who is there. Because a concept at times might be, could be a good concept, but it is always better to fund a person who's slaving it away already.
But do you think GEP is well capacitated to provide those services?
You know, you just said something that you've sent people here and we are there. For us to be able to perfect, we cannot be everywhere all the time. The only time we can respond, that's why we say your view is our vision, is that if people come and make us aware that you say this, but your officials are doing that. So that is where I say we are a partnership with the people of Gauteng. We cannot do it alone. Yes. So GP is supposed to be It's supposed to have the capacity to do that. It's supposed to. Hence, we approve the budgets.
Okay.
Yes, we always ask them, is the budget, the money you ask for, do you have the capacity to spend it? Don't come at the end or in the middle of the year to say, we don't have the capacity, we don't have that. We assume that they do have the capacity.
Now, when you said hand-holding,
Yes.
is the hand-holding only in the initial phases? Or when I've set up my business, can I still run to GEP if I run into problems and I need advice? Not more money, but advice, for
Definitely,
example.
the advice would always be there. And we encourage people to go there and engage with the people of GEP. We are the last line of defense. If you don't get joy,
And
you
the
come
first
there.
line.
Yes.
You-
Yes.
People of Gauteng, the Gauteng Provincial Legislature is your first line
Line
of
of
defense
defense,
and your last line of defense.
yes.
When everybody else lets you down, come to Corner Market and Risick Street to the Gauteng Provincial Legislature. Mr. Errol Margaman, the chair of the Portfolio Committee for Economic Development, Agriculture, Environment and Rural Development.
got it.
Last words to your fellow citizens.
We are your servants. We expect you to use us. We can never be too busy for you because without you, I would not be here. That's all I can
And
say.
on that note, we bid you a good night and a profitable one. Please put on your thinking cap, come up with your entrepreneurial ideas, and let's get this province working. Good night from the Gauteng Provincial Legislature.
Thank you.